All right. Good morning, everyone. It's your boy Rome. If you guys are new to my lives, my name is Rome Wilkerson. I'm a Houston-based photographer. I've been doing photography and video for over 25 years, actually longer than that, but that's the number we're going to stick with. I opened my studio in 1998. All right, guys, so this morning I got my coffee and we're going to just chat a little bit. Today, what we're going to talk about is something that I think every business owner, should have in mind, or if you're thinking about starting a business, this is one of the things that you should definitely be focusing on, and that is contracts. And a lot of times, we'll start up something and we're just so excited, to get going, and we're like, wow, I just want to get my business out there. I want to start making some moves, making some money, or whatever it's going to be. And the problem with that is we don't do our due diligence, and we set ourselves up for failure. I did it in a number of different, things that I was invested in the past. I just wanted the club open. I wanted the limousine company running. I wanted, the photography studio open. And I didn't really give a lot of thought, to contracts and, dealing with clients from a legal perspective. So today I have like about 10 things that I think we should keep in mind. We're not going to go really, really deep in detail with any of this stuff. It's just, there's common sense things, 10 tips to making solid business agreements, a basic contract. Now, some services, that's not even a necessity. You don't even need to even worry about it, I would assume. But as a service provider or a content creator or whatever it may be, I mean, if you have a restaurant, obviously, you're not you're not drawing up contracts when people walk into the restaurant or something like that, because that definitely would not go over well. But most of us, that rely on, our clients paying us at some point, we need to make sure that we have all of that stuff in writing, as to, who's going to pay, when they're going to pay, if there's going to be a deposit. As an example, with my photography or videography, I require that, my clients provide a deposit. And that deposit can be, up to 50%, before the day of the shoot. And then on the day of the shoot, the balance is due. So, I mean, like I said, each person's going to be different how they approach these things. But for me, that's just how I do it. Now, in your case, it might be a little bit different, where you say, well, I want them to pay when they arrive or when the service is, completed, and that's fine. With photography, as an example, if someone calls in and they say, well, hey, I want to book you for an event, or I want to book you for a headshot, or whatever the case it is. The problem with that is when you set that time, you are, locking in that time for that individual. So that means you can't say, oh, well, let me go ahead and book 4 or 5 more people, for the same time, just in case. It doesn't work like that. So they have that time locked in. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that, to some degree, you have it in writing. Now, you can use emails as verification of a contract, that you have a lot of the things that you would basically put in the contract in your email, and you can create a document that basically says if they, by them responding to it, they're agreeing to the contract or something along those lines. That's just a starting point. And sometimes that can be enough. It will keep someone from, trying something, slick. And, if any of you who are in the service business, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because once those services are rendered, it is almost impossible to get them to pay you, but you've already gone in and done whatever the work is, that that you're doing for them, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a huge, huge problem for you. So, I would definitely take that into consideration, whenever you're drawing up your contracts or you're thinking about contracts, you're thinking about, the worst case scenario, because that's usually what happens when we think about all of the things that could possibly go wrong. And I mean, just like I said yesterday, okay, my dog is being really noisy again. But like I said yesterday, we don't want to live in the past, and we don't want to create anxiety, for the future. But at the same time, this is a business, so you have to keep these things in mind. What could possibly go wrong? No different, like, say for instance, you book, you're a photographer and you book a wedding. You want a contract. Trust me, you want a contract. All right, so yes, I'm editing and talking about this stuff at the same time. One of the other things that you definitely want to try and do as best as possible is to try and keep it as simple as possible so that all parties involved can completely understand, what's going on, what's being discussed in these contracts, so that you don't run into problems, where someone will say, well, you tricked me because I didn't really understand, what it was I was signing. Well, think about it like a car dealership. That happens a lot, when people go and sign to purchase a car, and the only thing they want to do is just get on the road. I mean, man, I want to get this car and, hit the road and I'm done. When are my payments and, how much, that kind of thing. Remember, that's a part of their strategy also, is to keep you waiting. In the old days, that's what they would do, is they would let you wait for so long that when they finally walked in with that contract, you would literally sign anything just to get out of there. You know what I mean? So, keep that in mind. It happens. It happens. All right. So the other thing, that you want to consider is when you're dealing with people, make sure that you are dealing with the right person. Back in the day when I had my limousine company, one person would call and book the limousine and, provide a credit card, for us to charge or something like that. And then, you'd arrive, or the driver would arrive, for the day of the event. And then soon after, someone else would start trying to manipulate, the event. They're going to be in charge of, where they're going and what they're doing and all the other kind of stuff that's related to it. Make sure you always know who the person is, who is the card holder, the person you're dealing with, because that's going to have a lot to do with if there's something that goes wrong in the future, how you're going to have to deal with that. So, I am not liking that spot right there. It's going to drive me insane. See if I can get a better selection. That's not too bad. Yeah, I'm not liking that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this layer. And let's do that again. All right. So the next thing you definitely want to take into consideration is, when it comes to the details, you want to spell out the details as to, what's going to be done, what's expected, who's going to be doing what, if that's you, if, you're going to be bringing in other people. All of those things are going to be factors. Like for instance, if someone calls and says, hey, I have an event that I want, video coverage. And I'm like, well, I'm going to need, a couple of assistants or whatever it is. I put that in the contract so they know for a fact, what they're going to be paying for. And that way we don't have any problems going forward, because what will happen a lot of times is people will say, oh, well, I didn't know that I was paying for this, or I didn't know I was paying for that. So you want to make sure at all times you make this stuff as clear as possible to them so there won't be any confusion, because at some point somebody will come back and say, I didn't know that was a part of the deal. So, don't fall for the okie doke. You know what I'm saying? Make sure it is completely transparent. So that way you won't run into any problems, in the future. At least that's what I try to do, on almost every instance of what I'm doing. And I mean, a lot of this is new, the way, and I'm describing this to you guys like, this is something that I've been doing for decades, but it's not. And what I'm talking to you guys about right now is things that I had to learn, and I had to learn them the hard way because I didn't take a lot of consideration about, like I said, contracts and things like that. I would just say, you know what? Hey, we're open, we're doing business, let's just get in here and start making some money. And that was my goal. My side of things has always been I'm the creative, I'm the, driving force on that side of things. And you have to be so careful when you think about it from that perspective. And I mean, that's all of us, anyone who's starting up in business, that's the first thing you're thinking about is, I just want to start making some money and I want my business to grow, but you're not doing the important stuff, worried about your taxes or worrying about or concerning yourself about the future of where your business is going to be, 5 years from now. So if you don't take the time to decide if you're going to be, a corporation, an LLC, if you're going to be an S corp, whatever it is, the way you structure your company, in the beginning, that's crucially important because if you do it wrong, it's going to be a pain in the butt to change it back. And when you start trying to hire people, to take care of that for you, they'll make it very, very obvious to you that, you did something wrong. But a lot of times, like I said, when you're starting out, you don't think about these things. So I would spend as much time, or at least a good portion of time, seriously considering, what it is I want to do with my business for the future. So, and a lot of people start out and say, well, I don't have money, to form a corporation or something like that because it is expensive. There are ways to file for a corporation even when you don't have any funds. You can look at law schools, you can look at, and what I mean by that is you can find, legal students that can help you set up these contracts, and they're happy to do it because it's kind of like an assignment for them. It's like, oh, okay, cool. I get to work with a company and help them set up some of their contracts, or and it's not going to be easy. It's not like you can just call over to your local law school and say, hey, I need to get one of your students to do this, this, and this. But you can develop a dialogue with them. There are also organizations. There are a number of different groups out there. You can find them on, almost, any social media platform. Just beware of the ones that are always trying to, sign you up for something. Like, I want you to, take this webinar and it's going to cost you X number of dollars to take the webinar and we'll teach you what you need to know. Well, a lot of times that just doesn't work out the way you think it's going to be because it's really someone just structuring themselves to sell you something. You remember those commercials where they would tell you you could buy real estate with no money down and it didn't matter what your credit score was or any of those kind of things. We're going to make millions of dollars together. Man, don't fall for that. Come on. You know better. And even when, that was a thing back then, people knew better. But you know what? The problem with it is people still bought those those books and things like that, because they just knew, somehow this was going to work out for them. Even though it didn't work out for anyone else, it would work out for them somehow. You know what I mean? So all I'm saying is don't fall for it. Be prepared. You're better off being forewarned and, preparing yourself so that you are definitely forearmed when you go into whatever it is that, your business is going to be doing. So, it is what it is. So the next thing I would say you guys really want to focus on is finding out the legalities of your specific state and how those contracts are enforced based on your state. So a lot of times you'll find contracts that, you can download contracts from the web, or you can get them from legal sites and stuff like that. And then the contract will say something along the lines that it's enforced or it's based on the law of a specific state. Well, that may not work for you when you actually go to court because you're basing something on, California law or New York law or something like that, and that's going to be a problem for you. So make sure that your contracts state the state that it's referring to. And I know it sounds like a lot, but once you have these things in place, it's one less thing you have to worry about or concern yourself with on a daily basis. I mean, trust me, you're going to have more than enough things to be worried about every day. So, being sued or having to sue someone, should be the least of the things that you have to worry about on a daily basis. So once you have these things in place, and I tell you, once you provide a contract to a client, it will prevent a lot of drama because they will be under the impression, hey, this person has an idea what's going on. I'm not going to try this little, silliness that I may have done in the past or whatever it is. Because don't think, whenever you go into a deal with a client, you want to assume that they are like you, that they just want a service provided for them and, they're good people and you're trying to provide a good service for them or whatever the case is going to be. Great, no problem. But remember, there's a lot of scammers out there. And that's their whole stick is to catch you unaware of something. And now they got you. And now you're in a position where they can manipulate you and they can, force you to do something or force you to pay for something or pay them. Worst case scenario, I've heard of companies that wind up having to pay their way out of their contracts because, something wasn't done proper, or I've seen, stories or heard stories of companies that wind up paying the person they were suing to get paid, because they somehow infringed upon that person's rights, depending on how the state's laws are set up. So just be careful, man. Just be, get out there and learn as much as you can. There's a ton of YouTube videos and there's a ton of websites out there where you guys can get this basic information and just start preparing yourself. Now, for those that may have a few more resources, hire an attorney. That's one of the best things you could ever do is hire an attorney, because by hiring an attorney, you kind of cut out the middleman, the guessing. They should know exactly what it is you need to know, to make sure that, your contracts are on point and there's not going to be any problems for you going forward. Because, you just guessing or just, finding a little document online somewhere and saying, okay, this is what I'm going to send out. That may be no different than just, shaking someone's hand, because it's not legally enforceable. And if it's not enforceable by law, then it's really a waste of your time. So, I would keep that in mind. Once you have these things set up, like I said, you guys start moving forward, man. Whether it's for a nonprofit, for, a profit, most companies are set up as a profitable business, but even nonprofits, have to consider these type of things as well, because they can be sued. Or, even though they say they're nonprofits, some of them still provide some type of service as to where they, where their money comes from or whatever it's going to be. And, they have to be able to ensure that people are going to do what they say they're going to do. So hopefully everybody had a great weekend. I can't complain. I didn't get a chance to go riding as I had planned on, but what are you going to do? I'm going to try tonight, though. I think I got a chance to get out tonight, and we shall see. So what else do I want to do on this photo? These little flyaway hairs are driving me nuts, but I guess I'll go ahead and mess with them. So if you guys have started a business or are looking to start a business, I'd like to hear about it. I'd like to hear what you guys are working on so far, how far you've come. If you're looking for funding, what steps have you taken, on that level? Are you going through the SBA, or are you using your bank or your savings? How are you going about doing it? Looking for partners? I was told in the old days, never start a business with your own money. I still think in a lot of ways that's true, but it also depends on what type of business that you're going into. If it's something small and there's not a huge amount of potential for profit in the beginning, I would not focus on trying to find partners, because that's just going to be a nightmare, because those people will always be looking and waiting, hey, I got to get paid, when are we going to start making a profit? Invest in yourself. Start your businesses off small. And just like I said before, don't just drop what you're doing. Oh, I'm going to quit, my job, and I'm going to go become a full-time YouTuber or something like that. Yes, for some people, that's easy. They have the look, they have the location, they have, all of the variables in their favor. And that's not to say that you can't do the same thing. You just have to be, realistically focused on, is this something that's going to work for me in the immediate, not something that's going to work for me 10 years from now. So when you start, outlining exactly where you want your business to go or what you want it to do, whatever it is, if it's a service or it's going to be, something, much, much larger than that, you have, a lot of moving parts, where you're going to have, a ton of employees and all that kind of stuff. You got to really, really start, thinking about where you want that business to be, 5 years, 10 years down the road. It is what it is. But let's see here. Did anyone else go riding this weekend? Because I know a lot of people on my Facebook page are bikers. So I'm curious how many of you got out and actually got to ride this weekend. Like I said, I didn't do a lot. I stayed pretty close to home. I've never been a big fan, especially like on, the holiday weekends. That's just not really my thing. But, I know I got, friends they can't wait, for the holidays, and they get out on their bikes and they do their thing. Hey man, do what you do. It's just not always for me. All right, let's try to clean this up a little bit. Move a little bit of that texture. But I like that color in it, in the hair. Just don't want the texture all over the skin. All right, here we go. So if you guys are interested in photography, like I said, I set up a group a couple of weeks ago, and you're more than welcome to join that group and start posting your images and asking questions. And if anything I can do to help you grow or speed up your learning process, feel free to ask me any questions. I'm an open book. I love to talk about the things that I love to do. So, oops. I definitely didn't want to do that. See, trying to do multiple things, multitasking. You guys know what it's like. So, but I love doing this. So this is more just fun for me. This is definitely not something I would present to a client. I'm just doing this for fun, just to keep my hands busy while we're talking. We're just talking. So I can tell already my dog's going to start bugging me, because the minute, all of a sudden now he wants to go out because I'm talking. But if I was sitting here quiet, just like kids, they would just be sitting there, no problem. They're not moving around. But They're our little kids too. So I think I had to do this yesterday too. I'll open the door for him so he can go out in the backyard, and then he would literally look out the door and then come lay next to me. Yep, that's exactly what he did. So it is what it is. Let's see here. How much time have we been on? You guys hear my ducks in the background? Yes, I have ducks. I don't know why. People ask me that every week. Somebody will ask me, why do you have ducks? And that is such a long story. It's a little too warm. You hear them? Because I opened the door, so now they're going to run in like little gangsters and get into mischief. They usually go straight for the dog food. And then they get what they want, and then they take off. Life is crazy, isn't it? All right, so let's flatten this. And let's play with one of these plugins. Infinity Color, for those of you that are photography centric, it can be a really good tool for color grading, for finding the proper if you're looking for a specific color, for an image, you can use this. So basically what it does, it's just a randomizer. Just basically it randomizes colors that you can possibly use for your image. And I use something else. Well, now I do, but this is really good, especially starting out if you're not, sure where to start on your color grade, and, you're doing like a one up photo. You can just, hit this little create button and just keep hitting it until you see something that you like. Let's just say, I like that as an example, right? Then I could go into, the different layers and then further adjust that. So if, say for instance, if I thought, I wanted to adjust the hue, the saturation, the color. Let me expand this a little bit so you guys can see what's here. So here are the curves, color balance, selective color, gradient map, and color lookup. So I could actually, maybe say I like this tone, but I wanted to change, I'm going to close this for now. I wanted to change the lookup source. I could click here and I could go to my lookup, my LUTs. So if I had a specific LUT that I wanted to change this to, I could just choose that LUT and then it would give it that look. So you see there, it brought a little bit more contrast into the image. So I like that. And zoom in a little bit. Let's do before and after. See how that one's really, it's not bad, but it just doesn't have enough texture, it doesn't have enough contrast. So with the LUT applied, it gives it a little bit more dimension, Then there's, playing with photos, there are just so many things you can do here. You can go in and dodge and burn, because you have some areas here where there's a lot of light, there's not much light, shadows, and you can, really enhance those shadows more, or enhance the highlights more if you want to give it that magazine, quality look. But, most of the time I'm just experimenting, with these different plugins and these different filters, just to, just kind of play around to, see what these apps are capable of doing. And then I kind of, at some point, put together my own little workflow, what works for me. And then most of these, I don't save them. I just say, okay, that was fun. And then I'll move on to the next thing. I may find something else, as an example, that I want to, play with. And, I'll pick an image. I usually have a ton of photos saved. and then I'll go in and just kind of play around with them and say, okay, well, here's maybe something good for an upcoming project idea. I usually have a lot of raw photos, some that I shot, some from other photographers, and I look for the photographers who are uploading stuff that's going to be in an actual raw format, so that at least I'm starting off with the better resolution image than just a downloadable JPEG or something like that. And I mean, you can also find, if you're interested in this, you can find these photos all over the place. In the future, when we're doing the little walkthroughs, I will provide links, to like a Dropbox or something where you can download these, and then you'll be able to edit along, But, it is what it is. You got to enjoy what you do. If you love what you do, it'll never truly, truly be work because you're passionate about it. All right, guys. So I got a couple of things I really need to get done today. So I'm going to focus on that. I will make sure to upload these lives to the other social media platforms that I'm on, like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. So if you didn't catch one of the previous lives, you'll be able to find it on my YouTube channel. You'll also be able to find snippets on Instagram. So, it is what it is. So if you guys have any questions, leave a question down in the comments. And I will also link to a page that talks about some of the things that I was talking about before, what that's related to, things that you need to consider when you are working with contracts or setting up contracts for, clients. So, you'll have access to those resources as well. All right, guys, I'm going to bring this live to an end. Hopefully everyone, again, like I said before, had a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Yes, I will be doing this again tomorrow. I don't know what the subject's going to be yet. So, people will text me later and say, hey, why don't you talk about this or talk about that? Okay, cool. If it's good and I think you guys may be interested or benefit from it, I will definitely consider it. All right. So I will catch you guys in the next video or live. Until then, stay safe. Wash your hands. Take care of your loved ones and create something amazing. Peace. I'm out.